Welcome. The topic of today's discussion is about dispositional belief. If to be exact, we can name our lecture in this way: what is a dispositional belief? In order to discuss this topic, we have distinguished three different questions. Question 1: the different attitudes we can take toward a proposition. Question 2: believing a proposition versus entertaining and considering a proposition. And our last question: dispositional belief against to occurrent belief. Okay, let's start with question 1. Different attitudes we can take toward a proposition. In this context, we can distinguish three propositions. Proposition 1, it is true proposition. Proposition 2, it is false proposition. And proposition 3, it is suspend judgment. And we can clarify each of them. What is true proposition? It means that we believe a proposition or accept proposition as true. And what is false proposition? It means that we believe that proposition is false or we believe its negation. And what's about last attitude? Suspend judgment. It means that we withhold belief in proposition. And we can apply these attitudes to the philosophy of religion as example. And what we can say in this context, for example, we can take one proposition in the philosophy of religion. Our proposition can be claimed in this way: God exists. The proposition that God exists. And what is true proposition in this context? It can be related to the theism. It means that we accept the proposition because this proposition is true. According to the atheism, this proposition is false. That is, disbelieves the proposition because this proposition is false, as I said before. And what's about third attitude? It can be related to the agnosticism. In other words, agnosticism withholds belief in the proposition because suspends judgment, decides not to make a firm decision or judgment about the proposition until we can know more about this domain. We can get more knowledge about this domain. Okay, we can move to the next subtopic. What is belief in epistemology? And belief in is a propositional attitude, that is a relation between a subject and a proposition. And there are many propositional attitudes in addition to belief, and we can name some of them: hope, fear, doubt, desire, and others. In addition to believing that it will rain, for example, one can hope, fear, doubt, or desire that it will rain. And our next discussion subtopic is about believing a proposition versus entertaining and considering a proposition. What does it mean to entertain a proposition? Our definition is that to entertain a proposition is merely to hold it before mind. And what does it mean to consider a proposition? To consider a proposition is to entertain it and to study or examine this proposition. And you may ask me, can a person entertain or consider a proposition without believing it? Yes, a person can. For example, a person can entertain and consider the proposition that the Earth is a cube without believing it. And our next question in this context can be formulated in this way. Can a person believe a proposition without entertaining or considering it? Again, yes, a person can. This morning, for example, I believed that the Earth was round, but I did not entertain or consider that proposition. And in this context, we can continue our discussion and distinguish two kinds of belief, dispositional belief and occurrent belief. And how can I distinguish these two kinds of belief? Let's start with the first kind of belief, dispositional belief. If a person believes a proposition without entertaining or considering it, this belief is said to be a dispositional belief. And what's about occurrent belief? If a person believes a proposition that he or she is entertaining, this belief is said to be an occurrent belief. And one essential moment in this context, dispositional belief is not identical with disposition to believe something. And how can we clarify this situation? Having a dispositional belief needs to be distinguished from a disposition to believe something. There are many propositions that we did not believe, but we would believe them if we considered them. For example, I might never have considered that YouTube platform has got AI and might not believe that. However, I might be such that I would believe that proposition if I considered it. I would have a disposition to believe that proposition even if I did not have a dispositional belief in it. Okay, our next interesting question is that what is a traditional GTB account of knowledge and which kind of knowledge does it refer to? On GPT account, it is justified to believe. The traditional account of knowledge means that S knows that P if S believes that P, and P is true, and P is epistemically justified for S. Therefore, according to this account of knowledge that P requires that S believes that P, and this belief can be dispositional of a current belief. Thus, we can say I knew this morning that the Earth was round, even though my belief in that proposition was dispositional. Okay, our next subtopic is about the traditional GPT account, justified to believe, GTB, justified to believe, account of knowledge and the intensity of one's belief. Belief ranges in intensity from complete and firm conviction to tentative and cautious acceptance. For example, one might be firmly and strongly convinced that God exists, or one might accept it with some weaker degree of conviction. However, according to the traditional view, knowledge simply requires justified to belief, regardless of the intensity of that belief. Okay, that's all for today's discussion. Thank you for watching, and you can share your ideas, your comments, and you can ask your questions. I will be very glad to answer them. See you in the next videos.